Hi HGTV, welcome to my 1914 home. And since you're already outside, let me show you the front porch. So my name is Renee, and I bought this house 5 years ago without any DIY experience or knowledge of how to do anything, except for an addiction to HGTV. And I thought, what if I could buy an old house and fix it up myself? And so I did. I always wanted an old home because I personally just think that they're built better, their materials are better. So this is all solid cedar siding, which is very cool. It holds up forever, obviously. It's been over 100 years. And it just has lots of stories that it can tell. Not that I know them, but I'd love to find them. And I've left my own little stories as I've renovated in the house. I scraped and repainted everything. So I did all this green, the trim, the ceiling up here. I also built this little contoured porch swing. So one of the fun things about learning how to DIY renovate is I've also learned that I really enjoy woodworking. So this was one of my first ever woodworking projects, was building this porch swing. And I can confidently say that I built it with my own two hands, and it's very comfortable. So the front porch is amazing, and I love to spend time on it, except during mosquito season, which it currently is. So we're gonna go and head on inside. When I first moved in to this home, the walls were kind of a very dark beige. All of the trim was painted white, and that was the beautiful 1914 trim. So then I forced my sister to help me strip all of the paint off all of the doors and trim in here, and I think it looks so much better. What is so cool about this wood when you get it stripped back is you can see how old it is, because you can see all the little rings that make this such strong, beautiful old wood that would be hidden if you painted it. Just look at that, beautiful. You can't replace it. Really, my kind of thesis statement behind this home is that I want it to feel like whimsical, traditional. I want to stick with the historic aspects of the home and enhance them, but I also want to bring in my own personal taste, which is a little quirky, a little weird, a little whimsical. And that includes adding things like birds all around the ceiling that I hand painted, because why not? But the theme of this room in its current iteration is heritage theme. So up here we have all of these photos that I've collected of my family over the generations. And mixed in with the photos, we also have things like my grandfather's glasses. I actually got them replaced with my lenses so I can wear them. Pretty cool, right? Pretty good. But they're also just really nice to have on display. Do love to look at them every day up here. And that takes us to, I think, what is the main feature of the entryway, which is the paneled staircase. Everyone thinks this is original, which makes my heart very happy, because it was absolutely not. Because when I moved in, this was all textured drywall, and it was sad looking, and I wanted it to really look as close as possible to a crossing staircase. So I added all of this paneling and stained it. But the hardest part about it for sure was all of the math and getting all of the geometry right for the different steps of the stairs. You can see the panels get shorter as you move along, but I wanted to keep it as consistent looking as possible. So one of the things that I like to show people is this little cash box. This is actually wallpaper that's original to this house that when I was doing demo, I discovered, and who knows how old it is. So that's kind of the background of it. And this is a Valentine that I found in a little dresser that I was restoring. It fell out the back the weekend before Valentine's Day. So it just felt meant to be. It's from, I think, the 50s. You know, a little feather from the yard, things like that. I just find like everything is so special when you're discovering it yourself, and I just like to display with the little journey of the house. When someone enters my home, I want them to be like, what is that? What is that? What is that? And for people to immediately start interacting with the home, which I hope everyone does, and doesn't just feel like, ooh, I can't touch anything, it's too precious. I want it to feel fun and inviting and playful. But I have so much more to show you. Next up is the living room. One of the things I love about it so much is that it has so much natural light, which allowed me to make it super dark. And I love the idea of it feeling like a cozy space because I want a living room to feel cozy. So I painted the walls and the ceiling this kind of like deep, rich charcoal that changes in different light, and it has made it feel a lot cozier. So I think the centerpiece of the room though is this big, beautiful chandelier. And for the longest time I had a chandelier in here that had one light and I couldn't see anything. If I dropped something in the middle of the night, good luck. But now it's big, it's beautiful, very bright, and it has this kind of aged white Italian fluted glass, super fancy. And it's just this really big, beautiful statement piece because if you go by interior design standards, which I sometimes will look at and then purposefully break, the rule is that it should be smaller, but I like when things are a little bit oversized, unexpected, a little strange, a little whimsical, some might say. Whimsical, traditional, there we go again. Now, one of the challenging things throughout this house, because the ceilings are 12 feet tall, is that it can feel really blank once you get up there. So one of the things I did was add these hanging plants all around the room. It helps to kind of lower the feeling of the ceiling and bring the decor in kind of a frame where all of the florals are. You can see that this kind of feels a little bit blank up here, so I'm considering adding another plant there. Let me know in the comments what you think. And here we have my favorite corner. This is where the dark academia really starts to kick in. You can see all of these antique frames that I've collected, all the antique arts, and then this really big comfy leather armchair, some old books. Who knows what these are? They're too faded to tell, and that's fine. We don't read them. We just look at them, we observe them, we appreciate them, and we sit here and we enjoy. That's living the life. So what I love about the living room and the dining room, they're kind of open to each other. It's really the only open concept happening in this old home, but I wanted them to feel like a yin and yang to each other. So here we have dark and moody academia, and then we move into light and bright and airy, but they have the same color scheme if you look closely. So the green in the couch is the green in the ceiling. The charcoal on the walls is the charcoal on the back of the original built-in hutch. And I wanted them to kind of speak to each other, but also feel really uniquely different. And then what I also love that connects the rooms visually and literally are these really old antique pocket doors, and they're gonna be squeaky, so prepare yourself. But this is actually cool. You can fully separate these rooms, but I just like to keep them open. The sounds of a 100-plus-year-old home. And this is the little record nook corner. I really love it. I think every room should have multiple purposes, especially because I'm not like fine dining every day. So this is kind of the music room as well. I also have a piano in here. This is from 1940. And it's a swivel top, which is just the coolest thing. And they built it so that it can swivel, I guess, for like a phonograph or something. But I just love that, except when the cats jump off it, it constantly is like this in the morning. And can we please respect the pieces in my home? But never. And then also, as one does, a portrait I commissioned of my cat, Beef, who was the cat to move into the house with me and is my little soul cat. He's actually in here because he loves people. He loves to supervise, as I say, and to spell out correctly, purvise. Thank you. Beef, come. Okay. Love your mother. A celebrity. Look at that. Here he is. Isn't it a beautiful likeness of him? I think so. It even has his little tag deer from when he was a little street feral cat. And he's gorgeous and perfect, and he built half the house himself, didn't you? He didn't do that, but he could have. Okay, Beef, you're not actually the star of the show, so you have to leave. We have to continue our tour. I know, it's sad. Goodbye. So then we move on to the piano area, and we also have the Magnolia Blossom painting, which is one of the first pieces of art I ever found, and it was huge and amazing because, again, huge walls, need to fill them with something. And it became a big inspiration for the house. So a lot of the colors that you'll find in this painting, you'll see throughout the house, including this room and the kitchen, which we'll get to in a bit. But what I also love is that this room has one of the remaining beautiful antique original details to the house, which is this gorgeous built-in hutch. And it contains all sorts of little treasures, and I love it so much. And this has a fun story. This was one of the first antique pieces I bought for this house. I bought it off someone from Marketplace, and I went to pick it up. We were loading it in my car, didn't realize that this top was not attached to it. It slid off and broke into probably 30 different pieces. So then I painstakingly picked it all up, went to the store, got some epoxy, and then puzzle piece glued it back together. And I used this technique called kintsugi, which is a Japanese technique of, instead of trying to hide broken parts, to highlight them. So I painted all of the men's gold. And it ended up looking really cool, and I love the way it looks. It was a happy accident. And now we're gonna move on to my pride and joy, the kitchen. So the kitchen is what I call the crown jewel of the home, not only because it's in jewel tones, but because I spent so much time and effort in here making it what you see right now. This room was entirely infested with roaches. All of the cabinets that someone else had built in here had just become a tunnel for them, and there were like holes that led to outside, and they just came in, and it was actually a nightmare. I would like have to brace myself every time I entered the room. So this was a complete gut renovation. Everything that you see here is new. I built all of the cabinets myself, and I built the island completely from scratch. So everything is solid wood, and not just that, but also like I learned how to make dovetail joinery for all the drawers. There's no shelves in here. It's all pull-out drawers, pull-out mixers. Like, it's just very high-end. And then after I was done and I shared it, people said that this would probably cost $80,000 if I got custom cabinetry, and I made it all the materials for probably $6,000 max. And I was so intimidated. I didn't think this room would ever be finished, and it did take me months and months and months, but it did turn out very well. And one of the first things that I built in here to rebuild it was this curved range hood, which I'm really proud of, and something that people notice a lot in this room is the finish on the walls, which is called Roman clay. That's the product, and has this kind of like reddish purplish tone that I love so much. And then that also ties into choices I made on things like the marble, which if I'm gonna spend money on marble, it's gonna be fancy. I don't want white marble. I want a crazy pattern. Some people say that it looks like prosciutto, and that's fine. Kitchen themed, but I think it's super beautiful. Then we have a lot of historical character still too. So even this antique copper pot, it's actually dated from, it says 98, definitely not 1998. So I'm pretty sure it's 1898, but it could be older, who knows? So these walls here, I wanted to uncover because they're so cool. They speak to the history of the house. They are the original shiplap walls. So in every room of this house, you'll see drywall, but behind it is this solid wood, which means it's very easy to hang things because I never have to look for a stud, very helpful. But what's also really cool is when you uncover it, you find all of the scraps of old antique wallpaper that people have put out throughout the years that's still under that drywall. And so you'll find the scraps of that in the dining room in that frame. And you'll also be able to still see the tacks from the wallpaper where they put it up in the little bits of cheesecloth that are still stuck to it, because that's how they would cover walls 100 years ago. And then up top, as I have to do, if there is a blank space, I will fill it. We have a little gallery wall of antique copper pots, which was really fun to go collect, and also are completely unusable in my kitchen because I have an induction stove. But you know what? They're beautiful, they're shiny little jewels, and they make me happy, so there they are. And then we move on to the big star of the show, which is this beautiful marble slab that, again, you saw on the backsplash, but also here on the island. And I did like a shiplap vertical treatment on the sides of the island when I built it because I wanted to reference this original vertical shiplap, but I also wanted it to just be also a huge statement piece, which I think it is. So this is my hallway bathroom, and I really love it because it's a small space and you can go really crazy with wallpaper and color and a crazy mermaid light fixture, and then everything is balanced out by the fact that it is still like a typical white tile and white fixtures, and it just has a little pizzazz with all the design elements in the room. So one of the things I wanted to do was have a really high impact wallpaper that tied in all of the colors of the house. So you'll find a lot of the different colors in here, from the dining room, the living room, and the kitchen, things you've already seen before. This is even close to the kitchen cabinet color. And then of course you have to have a velvet curtain in your bathroom, even though it's completely non-functional because there's glass here, but it just looks cute. And there's a tassel, and you have to have a tassel as well. Okay, let's move to the next room. So this is my green bathroom, as I like to call it for obvious reasons. This was my first big room DIY project ever, and I was so intimidated. So one of the first things I took on that was very, very challenging was the wainscoting. And I thought, you know, walls meet at 90-degree angles, and in an old house, they do not. So it met at all sorts of weird angles. I almost cried several times, but then I learned of my two best friends, caulking and spackle, and we made our way through. And it ends up being where I don't even think you can tell the struggles I had, but there were struggles to be had. And I'm really happy though with the way it turned out and flowed into the ceiling, and it's just kind of this wonderful color-drenched room. And it's so cozy. This room, it just feels like a hug. It makes me happy. But in an old house, and especially in a renovation, there's always a work in progress, and I've only shown you the first floor. So next we're gonna move up to the second floor. I'm gonna show you a secret project I've been working on. The house is always in progress, and the progress is finally reaching the upstairs, which was all a add-on basically from an attic space in the 80s or 90s, and they treated it though like an 80s or 90s new build. So it was all textured walls and carpet that was full of mold when I moved into the house, and this has been just plain subfloor for years now, until now. The flooring that is original to the downstairs is called antique heart pine long leaf. It can only be found now in salvaged, reclaimed homes basically that are being torn down, and that is exactly what I have found. There is a home that's being torn down, and I was able to get its old flooring, and you can see it's like a little bit different, like each room probably had a different finish on it. This will all be sanded and look uniform, but the goal is for it to look exactly like the floors downstairs. And my goal is for the entire upstairs to feel like it could be original to the house, just like downstairs. So that includes adding really thick trim and just trying to make everything feel like a beautiful old home. There is still a lot left to do in this house. The entire upstairs, there's also still rooms to do downstairs. So I hope you come back again for part 2, because there's gonna be a lot more to update you on. Bye y'all, I'll see you next time.